and gentlemen, welcome to Kingdom of Kodiak. I'm Kodiak. With me today on episode 45, the V9 Committee. Wunjo, if you could give us some introductions, please.
Hello. My name is Wunjo. I am the director of the V9 project. You guys have probably seen my face plastered all around Amtgard in the last week or so as the next survey is making its rounds. With me, I have a bunch of faces that you probably have not seen before, and that is my wonderful team who works alongside me as the core V9 development group. So I don't know how they're organized on your screen, but we have, I'll just name them as I see them on my screen. We have Gorovan. He is the one sitting in the black cockpit down there. We have Cord. He is the one shifting in and out of focus right down there. We have Watt. He's in the bottom right to me. Say hello. And we have our newest addition to the V9 team. We have Heron. And she's the one with the cat ears. I love those cat ears, by the way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming, guys. Let's get to the bare necessities. Sorry, Sin. How long you guys been playing? There's a diverse range here, from my understanding. We've got what 5 years to Cord. You've been playing since the dawn of time, if I understand correctly.
A quarter century, yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Quarter century.
Oh. I'm gonna open
Somebody
up
got
the
it.
order here. Okay, I can see the order here. Can I pause this? I
Probably.
can't pause this.
So yeah,
Oh, no.
what do we have? Gorvan since 2015, Cord since 95, Watt since 2010, Haran since 2016, Wunjo 2002. That's a wide range of Amtgard knowledge to have, and it's interesting that we're gonna have all of that talking about a ninth version. So let's move on and maybe talk about that ninth version. Second question, bare necessity. Where's your persona come from? Anyone?
Ooh, do you want to maybe go around? I tried to load up the stream there, but I don't want to affect my camera. If you want to just go around in the order that they're on screen,
Okay.
we can
all
take
right,
it in
so
that order.
I'm gonna do a little bit of this for the viewers at home. Haran, tell us about your persona.
So my name's Heron, like the bird.
Heron. Ooh.
That's okay.
Ooh.
So my persona is, sorry to disappoint, but not terribly deep. I like herons, and I was trying to think of a name on my first few days of Amtgard, and somebody said, bird names are really popular. We got a bunch of ravens, we got some hawks, we got all these other bird people. I'm like, herons are nice. I'm gonna be Heron, and that's how that came about.
Awesome. We're gonna rely on you to answer a question later because it's gonna specifically tie into birds. So.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Wunjo, how about you?
My name came from when I made my bard character. I was just like, what's a good bardy name? And at the time I was all into runes, and I'm like, oh, Wunjo, that's the rune of joy. And it's kind of become my moniker and how I've, wanted to just live and promote my experience. So that's where Wunjo came from.
Sweet. Cord?
So I had a persona at one time, but I think it's kind of gotten lost in the dawn of time. So the name is a reference to David Eddings' set of novels called The Belgariad. It's the bastardization of two names, Mandarellen and Cordarellen, put together. So that's where that came from. Cordarellen is the full name. But yeah, as far as persona, to be quite honest, I don't remember what it actually was at any point.
I haven't heard that name in 25 years.
Watt, tell us a story.
So, Watt is an alchemist, sort of out of necessity. So, Amtgard is a world of magic users, spellcasters, and Watt has none of that. So he works with potions and powders and tries to make up for this shortcoming with that. So I play druid, and I use a crossbow. Mm-hmm. And it's really handy that Amtgard is what it is, and it's set up the way it is because crossbow bolts look like little arrows with a blue or whatever color foam ball on the end, and it's like, well, if I'm an alchemist, this is my arrow, but instead of a sharp bit, it's a blue potion that melts swords.
I love it.
It does horrible damage to armor. So just kind of scatter that into everything. If I use spell balls or whatever, it's they're potion jars or grenades or.
That speaks to me. Artificer would have been what I would want to play if it was a thing. Hey, V9 committee, Artificer. Let's make it happen.
Pay us.
Corvin.
If you want to hear about how magic items work, you should take the survey on magic items.
Hey.
Yeah, so my character was just ripped whole cloth from a D&D setting that I wrote for a group that I was playing with at the time. He was just like a generic retired adventurer quest giver NPC who I reworked the backstory and had him fall through a portal in a tree and woke up in Ampgard being like, wonder what this place is. He had gotten lost in the woods and was basically just like stuck in the woods starving. He's like, look, either I'm going to starve here or I'm going to go through this portal and be somewhere else. We'll find out. And ended up outside of Empire's Grove, the first park they played at.
Fantastic. All right. So I have 3 more bare necessity questions. We're going to go back around the loop. So go over and you're going to start this one. The award and the achievement or achievement that you're most proud of receiving.
This past winter mid-rain, I think, or the one before, I received my Walker of the Middle, which I've been working for pretty much the entire time that I've been in the game. And I was very excited to receive it.
Fantastic. What?
So at the keep on the Borderlands before everything went digital, I was given my Master Crown and Master Smith at the same in the same court, and I can't really pick one over the other because the memory is kind of locked in. But that it's kind of toxic. But like if you know anyone who's a completionist about achievements, progress, people who hit 100% video games,
yep.
I got all 4 Service Master hoods. It's off my plate. I can just do stuff without the need to complete over my
20
head.
Xbox points.
20
Yeah,
Xbox points, yes.
That's quite the accomplishment to have all of that. Wow, congratulations. Court?
It's a question I hadn't really thought about. So
That's why we ask them the tough ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So if we're talking about actual awards, I would say the one that probably meant the most to me was my Grand Duke. And the reason for that is because my friends know me well enough to know that my masterhood was actually a bottle of whiskey that, I don't know if you can read it. It says the Quarter Ellen aged 36 years. And so they got me a bottle of whiskey and put it on there. And so it was the fact that they knew me well enough to do that, I think, that probably makes the award mean the most.
Right.
So I thought that was real cool. But as far as achievement, I would actually say that would probably be the COM passing V8. Because that was, up until AI, was the kind of the largest thing that I had ever actually been part of with Ampgard. Right. And the fact that passed and actually had such great acceptance for so long, I think was probably the greatest achievement, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm proud of.
We're going to be talking about V9 here in a minute, but V8 pretty good. It's the only one I've played, so it's the best one.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's all right.
It doesn't suck so bad.
Yeah. Joe, award or achievement?
So I'm gonna swerve from all the top tier awards and say that if anyone knows me, they know that whenever I'm called up in court or anything, I don't want anyone using any of my noble titles or any of the other stuff. The only title I care about is a non-noble that I won in a contest a decade ago that is Tailspinner. And I have awards that are given to me that are literally like to Wunjo Ballo Tailspinner. And this was a storytelling contest where it was like an open storytelling. It wasn't write anything down. You just showed up and you told a story. And I thought, it'd be cool. Has anyone read or heard of the 27-page story that ends in a pun? That's called like the world's longest joke sometimes. It's this massive story, this massively long story that's about a dude and a snake and all this stuff. And anyway, it ends with a pun, and it just flat ends on that pun. And I was like, you know what? I want to do my own version of that. And we were given the prompt of the title, which was called Quinn and the Children of the Plains. And I must have been months, every week, walking home from work, just on the sidewalk, going over this whole story, saying it out loud, workshopping it. And I got to this event, and no one else entered this contest, but I had this masterpiece of a story. And for like the 15 minutes or so that I told this story, I had the crowd in front of me just like locked in, and it ended with the pun. And it was so great. I loved it. And, I got the title by default, but to me, I had earned it. And that, I think, is the representation of the work. And so it's meant a lot for me in that. So that's my.
How much ducking did you have to do when you finished that story?
All right.
Just hold up the basket and catch all the tomatoes.
Right. Heron, I want to preface Heron's, though. I fought against you at GOTC 2 years ago, and you fought barefooted. So your greatest achievement is fighting barefooted, in my opinion. But what would actually be yours?
Gosh, I think it's probably one of two. The first answer is probably the title of Defender from Northern Lights. I don't know if it's common in other kingdoms, but it's basically an award given out for excellence as kingdom champion. And the summer before that, which I guess would have been summer 2019 now, was my first time in Kingdom Office, and I decided that I wanted to do an entire reign of just nonstop battle games at every KLE. We got in a couple quests there too, but we had a day with, I think, 11 battle games that we got in. And it was just a bunch of fun. A lot of people really liked the reign. And it was really cool to have people like it so much that they gave me an award for it. So that's what I'm here at AmpGuard for, is running games and having people have fun. So that's probably my favorite one.
Awesome.
But personal achievements, I have 5 Orders of the Warrior, and the 5th one, I wasn't sure I would get that far, because I care a little bit about tournament fighting. I want to be a good fighter, but tournaments are usually not my scene. But I did pretty well in a couple tournaments, and I got that one. So kind of gives me hope that maybe I'll get a 6th one later, or 10. Who knows?
Well, I know you.
More than I've got.
She definitely killed me a couple times. So noted. Okay, I'm gonna come by the last 2 questions. I'm gonna split the room. I'm gonna start with Cord. Your favorite battle game and your favorite class to play.
Oh, geez. All right. Favorite battle game. So this was a battle game that I actually had written up, where it was the Mad King Grix had decided that he wanted to get the Archduke Medrin's prized unicorns. Okay, so he had sent a force to try and steal Medrin's unicorns. And so Medrin's team was defending the unicorns, and Grix's team, of course, trying to attack his castle and steal them. And in order to steal them, Medrin's team had to go in and hit the unicorn to stun it, and then say, "Oh, what a pretty little pony." And then the unicorn would actually follow, them out. And then, in order to release the unicorn, Medrin's team had to, come in and again hit the unicorn again. Actually, no, not hit the unicorn. Just grab the unicorn by the tail, and then say, "Let's slip the corns of war," and then that would actually release them. And I wasn't playing the game; I was just sitting there, kind of watching it. But that was probably my favorite battle game that I've ever actually been involved with. And then my favorite class to play. So I have to admit, I haven't really played a class in many years. I think the reason for that is I get very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get competitive, I also get loud. And after chasing a few newbies away just from being enthusiastic and loud, I realized that it's probably not best for me to play in battle games. So now I tend to reeve.
Oh, okay.
So
Hey, at least you checked. You checked yourself. You're like, I
Mhm.
can't. That's better than some of the atmospheres we've had. Fantastic.
Yep.
Gorvan, favorite battle game, favorite class. Also, Dame Annabelle, I hope you wrote down that unicorn game. We don't have enough unicorns at Dragonspine. Sorry.
what? Hey, what?
I know that we have some. But
You have the highest concentration of unicorns of every kingdom, my friend.
well, I haven't seen them.
Gotta fix that. Gotta go find some. They gotta let loose the horns of war.
I'm gonna have to tap Sir Randall. Be like, hey, excuse me. Anyways, Gorvan, favorite favorite battle game, favorite class.
All right. So I mentioned before that my first park was Empire's Grove. Empire's Grove is the chapter that plays in Manhattan, in Central Park. So we had a lot of walk-ups. Rarely would they ever stay because they were mostly from out of town. We would try to direct them to the nearest Empire Park from where they're from. But we had a lot of people just dropping in to play for a game or two. And the best way to do that was playing games that were just like simple to jump in and out of, like 3 of a Tree or 2 Hero Forever, where you just have respawn in groups of 2 or 3 and just keep playing. And we would play it where you could change classes when you died, just so that people could try out a bunch of different classes and see how they work together. And I think that's some of my like most like quintessential Amtgard memories come from just people having that pure joy of picking up a sword and being like, this is so cool, I love this, and just playing with like a group of friends walking by. And then for my favorite class, I started with Druid. It's probably still my favorite class. I probably play healer more just because I think I'm more effective at it. But I love Druid. So I have to say Druid.
Yeah, well, that's the right answer. So you're gonna get bonus points in the KOK chat if you say Druid, because obviously best. But thank you. Heron, favorite battle game and favorite class.
Gosh, I like most battle games. I think my favorite battle game that I've run was actually kind of a series of them. I was running some games at my park, and the first one was called Too Many Game Objects, where it was something ridiculous, like you had to pick up this key so that you could pick up the heavy object so that you could transport it to the other end of the field and score a point. And then the next battle game was Way Too Many Game Objects, and we just added another thing where like you could only move the objects if your team was also controlling this extra point on the field. Then the next game was Even More Game Objects, and we just kept adding something every time. It was just really silly, and by the end we were playing a game that like would have been impossible to explain to anyone at the beginning of the day, but because we were just adding them one by one, it was really goofy.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah. Well, that was fun. Let's see. My favorite class is definitely Warrior. Paragon Warrior, which is exciting. Every time I play another melee class, I think, gosh, I wish I had more armor. And every time I play a caster class, I'm like, gosh, I wish I had more armor. I also play some healer and bard. I play bard like I'm playing warrior with Song of Freedom.
There you go.
And healer is kind of if I'm a little tired or if I want to not go as hard and help other folks a little bit more, it's kind of my secondary class. But warrior is what I want to play most of the time.
I don't know why you'd want to help anyone else on the field. Play druid and play greedy and don't give anything out and just, well, I survive, haha. No, that's not how this game's played. This is a team game. This is why I'm bad at this game. Watt, favorite battle game, favorite class.
So Heron's battle games are my favorite, and I haven't even played them.
Right?
That's genius. But okay, so I've got this game that I pull out from time to time at small parks. It was in one of the battle game lists that I think it's like David Zucker had posted online for a long time. Fairy Dodgeball. So Fairy Dodgeball is like a 12 by 24 rectangle,
Mhm.
like a small dodgeball field, and it's essentially dodgeball. You scatter spell balls everywhere. You need a couple of people on the edges to make sure that spell balls that fly out get pushed back in. And essentially, you pick up a spell ball and throw it. You don't have to charge it or anything. And if you get hit with it, you're frozen. And one person on each team has a dagger, and they can unfreeze people by tapping each of their limbs and their torso. And the games I've witnessed almost turn into games of Twister on Fast Forward, with people jumping over each other, with someone with a dagger trying to unfreeze all their teammates as fast as they're getting frozen. It's just always really good fun, and it definitely levels the playing field at a park that can often have people who are really good, who have been around for a decade, and people who have been playing for 6 months. So everybody walks away from it with good feelings. In class games, if in an ideal world, I will put on armor and carry 2 swords and I guess javelins, and then just approach my team and be like, "Hey guys, what do you need?" But if I don't think I'm going to get that level of coordination from my team, I'll and or if I want to play a spellcaster, I play a druid with a crossbow.
I mean, do
I like
that.
to delete weapons.
Yeah, do that second one. I have a bias. There's a bias over here. My name's Kodiak. I don't know if you've caught on yet, but that means I'm a druid, and it's the right answer.
So we've got 3 votes for Druid right now. I think that makes pretty clear that Druid needs a nerf.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love Druid, but yes.
Here we are. That's what everyone threatens me with too. All right, Wenjo. Favorite
All
battle
right.
game. Favorite class.
So, favorite battle game. I'm obligated to say Phoenix League because that's my baby. I will say that when the Phoenix League is done right, especially when you have a full tournament with all the supporting elements around it, it can be like a surreal Amtgard experience that is just something I've never seen before. 2-3 years ago now, I did a full eight team tournament at Fury of the Northlands, where we had 2 simultaneous fields, and it was like a full Swiss tournament. So everyone fought until they had 2 losses, and it was just, we had spectators sitting on hills, intense in between. It was just so cool. It was so stellar to watch. And once you get the big super team out of the way, like everyone faces the super team and gets ground up and like spit out. But once you have the other teams in the middle, and they're having these super close, really, really tight battles, and they're all, both sides are full of friends and they're coordinating, and oh my God. I remember in that tournament, the battle to see who would go to the finals went 30 minutes, and to put in perspective, normally we have about 7 goals per half, 7 goals per 15-minute half. And in this game, they ended the full 30 minutes 3-3 tie and had to go to sudden death overtime.
Dang.
And just if you want to see some really slick competitive Amtgard, when Phoenix League clicks, oh my God, it's good. That being said, I do have my honorable mentions to just Capture the Flag in general. I feel like that game's always solid. Anything with infinite lives, and especially when you have a big enough field where new players can go out, die, and be oh, whatever, go back, respawn, and just try stuff. I really like that. And then similar to what Heron did, we have a game over here called Calvin Ball, which is basically you're trying to score a ball, but whenever you score, the opposing team gets to make up a rule or delete a rule, and it just gets added and added and added, and stuff gets crazy. You'd be like, scouts don't exist. Okay, keep going.
Flails Resurrect.
Yeah, exactly.
I've played that.
Favorite class. I am a V7 Master Bard, and when I switched over to V8, I was like, oh man, I want to play that style of play. And V8 Bard didn't do that anymore. So I was like, what class does that? Oh, it's Wizard now. Okay, I'm a Wizard main now. And I just hopped over. I was like, what? Per life break concentration with no maximum? Let me have that. And that's basically, that is, I play break concentration, the class, and Wizard just happens to be the name of the build.
There it is. There it is. All right, fantastic. That's the bare necessities. Sorry, Sin. We're going to get to the 3 questions the KOK viewers have asked since episode 1. I'm going to need, this is a V9 committee. We do surveys. You guys take data. I need 3 volunteers.
Oh no.
There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. Okay, here we go. One joke. Sir Glenolf is in need of a toaster and or soda maker. Where do you stand on Sir Glenolf receiving these items?
As in, should we give them both or one or the other?
Yeah.
Give him the toaster, make him work for the other one.
All right.
That's my stance.
It seems to be the consensus nowadays that Sir Glenolf deserves this toaster, but the soda maker's asking a lot. Let's back off it a little bit. All right, fine. What are your thoughts on bears? What are your thoughts on bears?
What are your thoughts on bears, Watt?
I plead the 5th.
Oh, okay.
Can we define what type of bears you're talking about here?
Are they
I'm gonna
Kodiak bears?
I'm gonna say no. Okay, why? Since you declined the answer there, top 3 bears.
Okay. Koala bears, because they're tiny.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, well,
Really?
I mean, everyone has the
They
right to
look-
be wrong. Everyone has the right
Oh,
to be wrong.
okay.
They're not even there.
Koala bears are the grossest animal that I've ever heard of.
I believe this
Keep
was
going.
Watt.
Keep going.
It's-
Keep going.
You've
Go
met
ahead.
what though?
It's at least partially a pity vote, okay?
Okay.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
Okay, so number 2 is that one bear that people got photographs of that's hairless, and it is horrifying.
Oh, yep. Okay. All right. That's fine.
Okay,
That's fine.
yeah. And number 1 is a phenomenon I read about where polar bears are migrating south
Growler bear.
and crossbreeding with grizzly bears to make growler bears,
Yeah.
which are the size of polar bears. Sorry, the size of grizzly bears, but the ferocity of polar bears.
Mhm.
And it's yeah. So
All right,
that's my three.
fantastic. Stillhut, you didn't get a point. Morgan, neither did you. Kodiak is still winning. Not a problem. Watt, since you're still on that same question, do bears live on the moon?
I am awaiting confirmation on that.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Watt. Gorvin, Dragon Spine is trying to get a mobile jacuzzi and or pool. What are your thoughts?
That sounds unsanitary, especially with amp gardeners.
So would bears be allowed in the mobile pool and or jacuzzi?
Yes, but only bears.
Okay.
No amp gardeners.
Thank you. And how would you suggest funding the mobile pool and or jacuzzi?
I think if you got enough people together to turn a profit on pictures of bears in a hot tub, and you get to pose with it and be like, "Hey, I got to see some bears in a hot tub," you could maybe turn it into like a tourist attraction.
Okay. All right.
How
so,
would you actually get the bears in the hot tub if you haven't bought the hot tub yet?
Emergency loan.
Cool.
Get seed money for an angel investor.
Right.
The cardboard standout, right? It's like, oh, I'm in a hot tub. Look at me
Look
chilling
at
in
me.
my hot tub.
It's an investment.
There you go. All right, fantastic. Those are the general questions asked by the KOK viewers since episode 1. So, Heron, we're going to start you with the actual first category. And we're going to call the first category the player. Because we don't hate the player, we hate the game. Let's get to the player.
Wait,
Okay.
what? You hate the game?
Gotta hate the game. Gotta hate the game. Can't hate the player.
I thought we'd said VA wasn't that bad.
Well, I mean, that's just a rendition of the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, Heron, favorite event and how far did you travel to get there?
My favorite event, like my favorite like annual event or my favorite specific instance of an event?
You tell me. I just asked the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, I think consistently one of my more favorite events is Shattered Kingdoms, which is a role-playing focused event in the Kingdom of Blackspire, which is actually kind of weird because usually I don't like role-playing. It's a 24-hour, like the whole time you're awake, role-playing system where there aren't any refreshes except in the morning. There's a plot that goes on all weekend. I've volunteered to be a monster a couple times. The last year that we put it on, I helped run quests, and it's just kind of like a weird, really different Amtgard experience where you're wandering around on trails in the woods instead of battle gaming. There are battle games too, but it's just kind of weird and unique, so I really like that. And that was 3 or 4 hour drive. I don't know how far Salem is from here.
Okay. All right. Cord, you've been the longest without having a turn, even though you've been very vocal. I'll go ahead and give you a turn now. Your favorite event and how far did you have to travel to get to it?
So this is going to sound really weird. My favorite event was actually GOTC 2015.
Okay.
And the reason for it was actually the Circle of Monarchs meeting, because I am a sick son of a... Yeah,
Nerd.
Wait, hold on. Was this the chainmail discussion?
No. Well,
okay.
Actually,
okay.
I don't recall. No, this was it was the establishment of AI. And I just thought that was the event where we got the most accomplished that we've ever done as a game. And I thought that was really cool to be a part of that to start. Like I said, really sick.
How far did you travel?
GOTC is a 9 hour drive for me, so not too bad. I've done 27, but nine's my favorite.
Okay, fantastic. So now, Wonjo, you answered the first question of the general question, so you can go third here, which means Gorvan, you'll go fifth, and Watt, you'll be fourth. Go.
Makes total sense.
Yep,
Yeah, that math checks out.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so favorite event in general, not like a specific event, is our yearly event, Battle of the Dens, up in my hometown of Sudbury, which is currently about 5 hours away from me, but used to be 40 minutes. That event always has a big 6 hour capture the flag. We have it on one of our members, their parents has like a massive, like acres and acres of forest that we are able to go in and carve out, and it's completely under our, within the limits of what they let us do.
Oh,
but
sure. Yeah.
we have trails cut out and bases built, and no one touches that except us. And it's really, really, really awesome. It's definitely the highlight of every year. Unfortunately, this is going to be year 2 where we're going to miss it, which sucks. Favorite specific event that I've been to would probably be I'm gonna say it would probably be that Fury that I talked about with the Phoenix League, just because that was kind of like the magnum opus of the Phoenix League idea coming to fruition. And then just random Battle of the Dens. I host a carnival, like a full out like music, games, buy tokens, win prizes. I've done that 3 or 4 years, and it's always a good time. So I love doing that.
Fantastic. So what's your thoughts on bears? I mean, sorry. Your favorite event and how far did you travel?
So I've been to one Battle of the Dens, like Wonjo mentioned. For me, it was a 16-hour drive, and the one time I went, it was definitely worth it. Everything he says is true. I'm about 5 hours ish from Keep on the Borderlands where I'm at. But my favorite events are hosted by a couple of parks So the Rising Winds uses Grand Duchies like administrative zones. It's not like a stepping stone to Principality necessarily. They're like we're so spread out that we can say that this cluster of chapters here has this infrastructure to make camping events, and this one over here does too. So all of the Ohio chapters host a yearly event called Battle Cry, and I'm in Kentucky, so it's kind of always been, I go to Kingdom events, or I visit parks around me, and I'll end up helping out. I'll end up running something. I'll end up being busy. And Battle Cry has always been the event that is just like my weekend off, because since it's ran by Ohio people, it's always ran within Ohio social groups. So they don't usually hit up people outside of that to take care of stuff, and I can just show up and pitch a tent and hang out. And it's especially great because this is an event that pulls like 120 people, but the campground that it's ran in, everybody just camps in one big cluster. There's not 30 people off somewhere in like a fighting company camp. There's not a closed meeting over here. There's one like park shelter that has picnic tables in it, like any public park has, that any of you are probably used to. So everybody kind of congregates in the same space. Everybody's hanging out with each other. It's very family-like, family reunion-like. There's not a lot of division by companies and stuff. And it's really fun battle games because it's a former paintball field nearby, in the woods nearby. So we have bunkers and stuff for battle games, but it's just very casual and chill. And it's like a vacation within Amtgard for me. So
fantastic. Yeah. It's gotta be really rough being a master service member. Like, I'll help. Take a weekend off, but you take a knee. You need to have some water.
I've gotten better about it.
Take a knee too many times. That's the problem.
I've gotten better about it, but I don't know. It's just kind of an autopilot thing. Yes, I'll help. What do you need?
Gorvan, your favorite event, how far was it?
So similar to what I do enjoy going to neighboring kingdoms and going to their events where I'm not responsible for anything or cross-gaming to other LARPs. But so GV has two big annual events. There's our start of summer and end of summer events, basically. And the start of summer one tends to be a bit bigger, and the end of summer one tends to be a bit smaller, but more local. I always liked the second one, both because it was my first event I ever went to, but also because it's much more that small community feeling of it's you don't always have like new faces. Well, you usually do because there's a bunch of like new college kids that come in every year, but it's not like people visiting. It's the new people that are in your community. It's a very much more tight-knit feeling. But yeah, so I'm also going to bring up Battle of the Dens because in terms of longest trip I've made to an event, so when I was living in Brooklyn, I didn't drive, still don't. And Battle of the Dens is in Sudbury, which for those of you who don't know, is in the middle of nowhere, like hours from anything above the Great Lakes.
Northern Ontario, Canada.
So I left my house at 7 a.m., got on a subway to the Port Authority bus terminal, waited about an hour for a bus, took a 2 or 3 hour bus to Binghamton, which is kind of the middle of New York, waited for the next bus to come in because I had the rest of our group on it. Then got like 4 or 5 of us piled into a van and drove to Sudbury. In the middle of this odyssey, I get called into an emergency kingdom officers meeting that lasted for another hour and a half in the middle of the rest stop just past the Canadian border crossing. We then get lost trying to find the house where half the group is staying because there's been sewer work around there and all the streets are closed. We then had to drive to the other house the rest of us were staying at. I got into actual Sudbury proper at about 3 a.m. the next morning after leaving at 7 a.m. And then that wasn't even in sight. We didn't actually get to sight until the next day.
Okay, well, you win. You have the longest one. Fantastic. All right.
From the Battle of the Dens.
Yes, that's what
And
I'm
Battle
talking
of Dens was great. Totally worth it. Loved it. Gone back every year since.
Kodiak, where do you live?
I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico currently.
Okay, so you live where it gets to like 120 Fahrenheit sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, so I'm in Kentucky and it's like it'll get to 105, but like 90% humidity.
Yeah.
Going to Sudbury in July, it gets to like 80 degrees and dry. You feel like an Olympic track star playing Capture the Flag up there.
And then it freezes overnight.
So I live in Cruces now. I did 6 years at Fort Knox, so I get Kentucky, and I'm from Western New York, so I get the 80 degrees and feeling great. This sounds perfect for me.
Worked
I'm
at
in
Human
for all of
Resource
it.
Command.
Right? Yeah, there you
Small
go.
world.
Meanwhile, all the Canadians are getting heat stroke.
Right? Yeah. Right? They're like, oh, I don't
It's
know
true.
about this. All right, Joe. I'm gonna start letting you be the team lead. I'm gonna ask a question. You're gonna pick a person to answer it.
Alrighty.
All right, here we go. Stillhat would like to know, how important is outreach?
Ooh. Let's Cord, you want to take this one? I think you got something you could say about that.
I would say outreach is incredibly important, which is why I don't do it.
All right. It's incredibly important, Stillhat. Don't ask Cord to do it.
So I think it's really important to keep people engaged in the process that we're actually doing, and like making sure that people are aware that stuff is happening and that we're actually working. And I think Wonder's doing a great job of making sure that we do that outreach. This committee had actually been together for a year before that, and we didn't do such a great job. I think that's because those of us who were actually running things had kind of some other things on our minds. So, but I think making sure that engagement is there is really important, making sure that we're getting that constant feedback and that people are constantly seeing that that there's some sort of action going on, and that the team's not sitting there resting on their laurels. Because we're at a point, I think, where we're at kind of a breaking point with AmpGuard, where V8 was a great system when it first came out. The more and more time we go with it, the more and more people get a little disillusioned with it and find those little issues that we didn't find initially. And we're getting to a point where if the committee's not really moving, then there's a good chance that we're going to see people breaking off and trying to do their own thing and whatnot. So I think making sure that everybody's aware of what we're doing, and not only that, potentially engaged if they're really interested and able to contribute to the process, is really important.
Okay. Follow-up question. How important is elections/voting? Okay, surveys aren't necessarily voting in this instance, but it's getting your voice heard. It's getting your opinion out there. Can we put this V9 discussion into the pocket of how important is that in comparison or equated to voting for elections for officers? Yeah, deep delves in KOK. This is what we do. Yeah.
Is this for me, or Wonder, you want to choose someone else on that?
I'm trying to wrap my head around.
Because I want a clarification on the question. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the original question that Stillhat asked was, how important is elections? But we're talking to the V9 committee here, and I want to know, how important is it that you're getting feedback? And I was willing to compare it to the feedback you get from an election, but how important is feedback for a V9 committee, or a committee, or a survey-taking group? How important is it?
I mean, I feel like that's the same answer as what we gave for outreach.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I'll just address it very basically and give a spin on what Cord said, where it's very important. At the very, very least, it lets us know where we stand, even if it's very rough feedback. At least if we had a general, diagram of this is where you exist in the opinion, we can go, okay, it's somewhere here, right? Even if we can't get the exact spot, it helps us hone in, so we're not looking, in the bushes somewhere else and aiming at the wrong thing. So feedback, input, you could say that some of these surveys are like elections when we say, hey, which of these piles do you prefer most? Because it'll swing kind of the way we focus our efforts when we start making decisions.
Can I throw something additional in on that?
Go.
So I have an interesting perspective from going V8 to V9. I think it's immensely important. The way we did V8 was more, we're going to, try and use this game theory to create a great game, and then we're going to put it out there and ask what people think. And I think we did a good job.
Mhm.
Okay. However, the system's not perfect. There are absolutely things that we could have missed. And had we gotten that feedback early enough, had we gotten that feedback before we put some of that out there, I think we could have done a lot better job. And I think the way we're going about it now, where we're trying to understand where we are, what people like, what they want, et cetera, ahead of time, is really going to help us build a much better final product. So I think that's listening to your customers is a huge thing for business. Listening to your players is a huge thing for us. And I think we absolutely need to do as much of that as we possibly can in order to put out something that's really going to be impactful and last.
Well spoken. Well spoken. All right. This one's selfish. Would any of you like to come to Dragonspine's Discord on Saturdays and teach a class?
I've got D&D.
On
Also
what?
have D&D.
Whatever you want, Cord. Whatever you want. You just want to come hang out and talk to me for an hour? I mean, we've done that. I'm fine.
When's the Rising Winds AMA? That's Sunday?
It's Sunday.
Oh. I understand the confusion here. Not this Saturday. Any Saturday.
Oh, any Saturday.
Yes. It's self-serving. I'm running out of classes, and I need to find more people that will teach. It's been a long quarantine. Anyways, we'll move on. That was self-fulfilling. You just reach out to me, call me. Our people will talk. It's fine. I need another volunteer here for the coolest trick that you know.
Gorvan.
We were talking about this. We were looking over the questions, and we decided that the coolest trick that all of us know is spinning, because that's a neat trick.
We like our prequel memes here.
Okay, fair enough. Morgan would like to know the top up and coming fighters.
Up and coming fighters. I mean, from where? We're kind of
Anyway.
spread out across. All right.
We've
we're
been
gonna
in quarantine. Everyone sucks now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone is down and going fighters.
Who?
Does that count? Or do you want us to nominate people?
I'm sure, you know what? It sounds like the right answer. Morgan, get good. That's what the answer is going to be. Figure it out. You're number 4 on a bear list when I'm number 1 and number 2. Get it together, bud. All right. Next question. Still, I would like to know, what do you think of knights who have a belt made of rainbow weave instead of a white belt? Is it against the rules, or is it just a faux pas?
Are you talking about where it's like glistening?
The question asks for rainbow weave, guys. I read the questions, I ask people to answer them, and then sometimes I give my opinions and then suggest it's not about me. So
I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I've got glitter in my belt, and I'm a little offended.
Oh, still, you have offended Watt,
I think-
who will not give you an opinion on bears.
I think anybody can have a rainbow belt. I don't think it's against the rules.
Is the
I was
question
actually-
trying to address whether or not it's like okay to have the 4 colors, the reserved colors in a belt at one time under the guise of a rainbow weave?
It might. Again.
Or are they just trying to talk trash about a rainbow weave?
Maybe.
I mean-
there's.
Yeah, we don't have
trash talk.
context on it. I think
Yeah.
that's what's
Yeah.
limiting us.
Okay.
Yeah.
My non-contextual reply is my colors are blue. My colors are
Blue.
green, green and purple, and but my path that I will probably eventually be getting knighted in is flame, which is red, and I would rather have a knight's belt that was trimmed in like green and purple rather than red, but I can't because one of those is reserved. So I personally am kind of like I understand the reserved colors, but I wish I could just have my green and purple. So I think rainbow is like fine. but I don't have any say on that.
Right. I think that's the
Wunjo's-
question being asked here too. So,
So I feel like I have to step in here because my knight's colors, they requested that I put rainbow on my squire's belt. Which is typically in our area you would put your path's colors on your squire's belt, but like no, gotta go rainbow. And so I feel like I'm a little biased here.
fair enough. Last question that doesn't have to do with the game, just the players. What are your thoughts on Grey Knights? Now, this is not a class. This is simply a person who doesn't denote themselves as a paladin or anti-paladin. In Dragonspine, that's a big culture. That determines whether you're going to get ice cream or kale. What about the Grey Knight? Yes, we have a tradition here. Anti-paladins are served ice cream at their knightings, and paladins are served kale and salt water.
So do they get
And feathered
kale
and
ice cream?
tarred.
No, just straight kale.
No,
Dragonspine.
no, I mean like
Grey
Grey
Knight.
Knights. Grey Knights, do they get kale ice cream? I mean, what do they get?
Just
there's-
so everyone has it in their head, I did just find kale flavored ice cream.
Okay, all right.
Which brand? I want
It
to know.
exists.
It like does someone sell it?
Ben and
Is it Ben
Jerry.
and Jerry's flavor?
It probably.
It's all
Yeah.
recipes so far.
Oh man,
So
I want that mass marketed.
there's been a suggestion by one Devrick Stormcrest that possibly burritos.
Burrito flavored ice cream or just
no,
burritos
no,
themselves?
Ice cream
Kale
flavored
burritos,
burritos.
like
Okay.
like kale burrito flavored ice cream. I could see that.
Okay.
So if it's Santa Fe Grill, fuck yes.
There it is. There it is. That's the correct answer. We're moving on. Okay, we've just did the players. Now we're going to do the game here. Who initiated the V9 committee?
Cord, fire away.
I feel like I've talked enough here, but so actually there were two different V9 committees, unofficial, that had kind of formed on their own. Manama had actually started one with kind of members from each kingdom to try and do things, and then I had actually started one separately to pull in a few people and go a little bit more along the kind of V8 route that we'd done. And then when we got to GOTC, Manam and I got together, started talking, and realized, it's probably instead of doing two different, competing processes, why don't we go ahead and mesh that together? There had been a lot of my thought on V8 was, V8 will go until it no longer works for Amtgard, and then we'll build something new. And there was enough discontent that I decided to kind of move forward with it. And there was enough that there was actually some discussion of trying to do something like that, coming up with the COM and stuff. And so when the COM started, talking about it, both Manam and I said we were looking to do something. Why don't we band together? And then the COM asked us to make sure that it was really a player-driven type process and that we understand what the players wanted out of Amtgard. And so that's kind of what started the whole process. Then that went for about a year with not quite as much action as we would have liked. And then we decided to transition to Wunjo, who has an overwhelming amount of enthusiasm for this process. And so he's been taking it, running with it, and it's been awesome since.
Fantastic. A couple of questions that go along the same lines. How did you decide, or how did you pick the volunteers for this group? I know we talked about there was two groups. How did those groups come to be?
That's Cord, you can maybe say your end and I can explain.
Mhm.
So Manama should be here. He's the RO and he's the sixth member of this team, but he couldn't make it today. So if Cord, you maybe want to cover your side and then I'll explain Manama's side.
Sure. So the team that I had initially consisted of Watt and another person who's no longer on the team. And the reason for including Watt in the process was we were both members of the V8 official clarifications team. And so we'd had a lot of discussions on, some of those things with V8 that initially looked cool. And then suddenly we were like, oh, wow, we really screwed up on that. And so we'd had a lot of those discussions. And so we decided to go ahead and kind of get started on that process. We tried to pull in a couple of other people to help who could do things like helping us with surveying and stuff like that. But those people ended up dropping off the committee at some point. So that's how it kind of worked from our side. And then Wonder if you want to go ahead and talk from Manima's side.
So on Manima's side, Manima's original plan, and this is, I don't know his exact plan, but I'm going to say what I know of his plan. He originally wanted to get together all the rules reps, and his original plan was, hey, all the rules reps come together, and we'll get this idea. So Gorvin is the rules rep of Golden Vale. I was not a rules rep. I was brought on as a pseudo rules rep for the Nine Blades, which was still a principality at that point, and was far enough away that he wanted someone's opinion from up there. And then we had kind of trouble getting a hold of a lot of rules reps because Manima wasn't the RRO at that time. We were reaching out to Monarchs being like, hey, does your rules rep want to participate, or can you send somebody? And we were receiving like mixed responses. And we ended up with kind of a ragtag group of some rules reps and some volunteered people. But as we went through the process there, the people who were invested, shone through, and other people just kind of dropped off. So by the time it merged with Cord's team, we basically took, the top 3 people from Manima's team and the top 3 people from Cord's team and smushed them together.
A little V9 sandwich.
Yeah, and then Heron is actually the product of our focus group system, which I guess kind of deals with volunteers. We have a big focus group community where we invite 2 people from every kingdom into these pocket Discord group channels where they get to be more involved with questions and stuff, where we'll ask them to clarify different bits and pieces about different survey topics. And right now we have, I think, 7 focus groups, and we're adding 1 or 2 per survey as we go.
Cool.
And that's like 44 people plus every rules rep. 44 people plus every rules rep per focus group, right? And people apply from that through the focus groups. And Heron was one of the members who was turning up in every single focus group. And every time we went to pick these focus groups, we were like, okay, we're picking for Northern Lights. Man, Heron is really one of the best picks for this focus group. And it literally was like a constant every time she applied, we're like, well, we need to take Heron. And she was just so active and so passionate. And we're like, this is exactly the kind of stuff we said we were looking for when it came to expanding this core team. So over our Christmas break, we reached out to her and said, hey, you want to be part of the team? And here she is. And we are more than ecstatic for her to be part of the team.
Well, she was also coming up with those ideas in the focus groups that we were just looking at going, yes, that's the sort of stuff that we want. So we'd actually been talking about it for 3 or 4 months before we decided to pull the trigger. We just wanted to, get a little bit more feedback there. But yeah, she's been a great addition.
Being watched, Heron.
Yeah, absolutely.
We see good things.
Yeah, right? No,
this may be news to her, and we may have made her feel really uncomfortable right now, but
But you passed. Welcome. Now you can help us spy on other people.
So one more question that's probably going to be one Joe centric, and then I promise the questions will be spread around a little bit more. But who makes the surveys? And is there any professional training from the people making the surveys?
Okay, good question. So the process we have of writing the surveys is a little hit or miss based on the participation of the rules reps and the kingdoms that they go out to. But generally, it looks like this. We, the V9 team, go, this is the next topic we want to survey about. We go to the rules reps and we say, this is the topic. Can you go to your kingdom and ask them what about these topics they feel strongly about? Just not like give us all your answers, just a vague, tell us the main hot points. In theory, they come back to us and tell us those things, although the track record of rules reps getting back to us is on the lower end. So we get a couple. We then take those points, and when we're building our survey, our mock-up, we use those points to determine where we need to expand certain topic points. So let's say we're talking about a recent survey. We're talking about incantations, right? Like, hey, how do you feel about the rules for incantations and range and all that? So you'll notice there's a question about incantations, and then there's like, well, how do you feel about targeting? How do you feel about touch range? Those types of questions came from the feedback we received from the rules reps being like, people have issues with targeting. People have issues with, the appropriateness of touching other people. And that's where we decided to expand the question. So if we don't get any feedback about where to explode, we go by our own thoughts. Like, is there something that's obvious? And if not, the question will just be like, how do you feel about this? Explain below if you have any specific beef. I write up a mock-up of the survey, basically just going through that section of the rule book, expanding where I think, and then we sit down for 1 week and we go over as the whole team, top to bottom. Hey, does this question look good? Does this question look good? Does this question look good? And usually it'll be like, this question is stupid, fix it, flip it, rewrite it. And we tweak the whole thing. And then when that's done, we move it into SurveyMonkey, where we start building it. And usually we find a couple more little nooks and crannies as we're building it in there. And then that's it. One of the biggest, I guess, safety nets, but also like time-consuming features about making the surveys is we discovered pretty early on to add those, like, do you have any additional remarks boxes at the end of every question? And that lets us it gives us the comfort that if we did ask a question that's a little bit wonky, players can be like, this is how I feel for reals, I'm going to type it out to you, and not have to like forcibly choose one of the answers that they might not be all on board with.
Right.
And that's been a big boon for us, being able to get the true picture.
Fantastic. Cool. So that's a lot of work. And you guys are still volunteers. We're all volunteers when we're doing this work. Is this taxing?
Let's go around the circle.
Not yet. I've only done a couple weeks of it, but so far it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go around.
What's
on
the
my
circle
page.
look
Yeah,
like?
What?
It comes and goes. It is really overwhelming how many notifications pop up for Discord, with being able to see every single focus group going every week. That's probably the biggest thing, is we're conditioned to pay attention to our phones all the time and acknowledge notifications. And when those notifications like triple, it can be pretty rough.
Sure.
I had to learn to just ignore the Discord notifications for a day or two, let them pile up, and then read it in like 5 minutes. And that took a while to adapt to, but that's about the worst of it for me, is how much content there is.
Right.
Cord.
Wow, that's an interesting question. It's taken some getting used to. This is definitely a different process than I've been involved in the past. I think at times there, like as Watt said, it is kind of overwhelming seeing, like, especially when the focus groups first get going and you get all these people in there. They are excited. They want their ideas out there, and so there's just this deluge of comments and stuff.
Yeah.
And we've got some great ideas that are coming out of that, but it's really hard to kind of parse through that and take the time to really sit there and think through all of the concepts and whatnot. So there are times where it can definitely get to be a challenge to take the time to really sit down and give everything thorough thought and work through a lot of the topics themselves. However, the concept of trying to work through some of those balance issues and stuff like that, I find that absolutely fascinating. So that helps drive me and keep me from getting burnt out on the process. Like I said, V8 was one of the best experiences I've had with Amped Guard. It was like the most fun I've had just sitting there and working through all of those intricacies and whatnot. And so being able to do that even at this stage, just working through some of those, some of the ideas that come up is great. And that really keeps me enthused. So I would say kind of like Watt, it's hit or miss.
Okay.
In most cases, I would say it's worth it, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of work.
Okay.
Orvan.
So again, there's the whole thing of there's like waves of work due to the way that we have our system set up. There's high stress, high load times and low load times. And I think that sometimes the biggest challenge is processing the amount of data, like pure data we have. Like right now, there's a single channel in one focus group has over 1,200 comments in it. On like a specific subsection of the armor rules. And I was in that focus group. I know she knows what I'm talking about. But everyone has. It's not. I'm not saying like everyone has their own experience within the game that informs their opinion, and so it's been eye-opening to see how different Amtgard is played in so many different areas. Because where I'm from a very low armor, high casting, really flirty kingdom. We do a lot of battle gaming, a lot of questing, and not too much tournament fighting. And then other places are the complete opposite, and the entire meta shifts, and the people's desires for what the game should be like based on their culture is so drastically different. And it's trying to not only compromise, but also just try and understand the many, many, many different viewpoints that are being expressed. Is just, there's a lot to go through.
Right. Well, it's the reason why we're fairly certain this isn't going to take place for years, right? Like, V9 is going to take some time, but anyone watching this should reach out to these people and thank them, because this is a lot of work that they're putting in for absolutely no benefit to no financial gain, a pat on the back, and then tell them to do it for V10. That's all they're going to get here. So make sure you're reaching out and thanking your V9 team and your rules reps.
Yeah, definitely go to your rules reps, because we do have them on the team as like a subcommittee. Manima's the RRO. He's here on the core team. But we really want to make sure that they are the funnel of your voice directly to us if you didn't get onto one of those focus groups that we've been talking about. So please talk with them, interact with them. We're trying to keep as many channels open as possible, for people to get in touch with us. We're doing our best in that regard.
Fantastic.
And by the time we get to V10, I'm going to be on like my second walker. I mean, that's wow.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, I don't think. All right.
It's all because of bad knees from fighting. Yeah. Okay.
This is only the second time in KOK history I've had multiple people, so we're going to play the hand game. This is very simple. I have 3 questions. If you think you are the person in this group, you put your hand up. If you think it's Manima, put both hands up. All right, here we go. Who's the most talkative of the V9 group?
Wonjo, get your hand up.
Yeah, Wonjo, put your hand up.
Fine.
Okay, who has the most opinions?
Wonjo, get your hand up.
Oh, look at that, the whole team. That's fantastic. I love that. All right, who's the most extreme?
Extreme in what?
Who's thinking outside of the box the farthest? Who's talking like we're gonna bring like, I don't know, bats with pudding on their feet?
Yeah, I'm the conservative one. I'm the V8 holdover, so definitely not me.
Cord's the voice of reason. Cord keeps us grounded. I'm the one who's like, but this or this star over here, and they're like, no, that's too far. But what if just for a moment?
Wait a minute. I have you quoted as saying, in this KOK episode, Cord is the voice of reason.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty boring and reasonable, honestly.
Okay, all right. Fantastic. I'm here for it. All right. So here's the question you wanted, Wonjo. The nicest comment someone has left on a survey.
Oh, right. So this gives me a chance to talk about, I guess, kind of what I do when I'm going through the surveys. We have a lot of questions that are like, open response, write how you feel, what makes you smile, and I have to individually go through like all 700 of those questions in every survey and read them and check them out. And one of the things at the very end of the survey is there anything else you'd like to say? Mm-hmm. And while we do get some people who are very, 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 very angry for some reason, we have a lot of people that just, wish us a lot of well wishes and support. And it's not one specific comment that we receive. It's just there are a lot of words of encouragement, essentially telling us, be like, hey, we know what we can see, we can feel the flack, the anticipation that people have, and it's like, know that it's not at you guys, it's that Amtgard is everyone's baby, right? And they are hoping that you guys do it that justice, and we believe in you. And that's kind of what I take away. I don't know how many of you guys have went through all the open comments, because there's a lot. I want to say there's 5 surveys. You get a minimum 500 each. What's that? That's almost like 3,000 comments when you extrapolate up of just pure, what would you like to say? So I think whenever I go through those and I see people that acknowledge the duality of, hey, I'm nervous, I hope you guys do this right, but like, we're behind you, right? Like, we will support you guys to make sure you get this done. Whatever you need us to do, we're here for you. I think that is probably the nicest comments we get. Realistic support, not blind hoping like, yes, you guys are the best. That doesn't help us. Well, it does. It's good. It's cool. Thanks. But
So one handy thing that Wunjo does when he's going through and processing all the data from the free responses, he'll use the SurveyMonkey tagging feature where like he'll tag certain concepts that come up. And there's a tag of well wishes for all the ones that are just something nice for the team. And sometimes when it's been a rough day of managing the data, or if it's just like feeling down, feeling imposter syndrome, whatever it is, like it's sometimes nice to just open up that tab and be like, let's read some nice words.
These guys are all much nicer than I am. Like, I gotta say, the ones I focus on are the problem comments. So
Yeah.
thankfully,
yeah.
the well wishes.
Sometimes those happen, but the well wishes are way outweigh those. So
Yes,
Yeah.
way
I'll
outweigh
just say
those.
that.
That's fantastic. Okay, this question I'd like everyone to ask, if I could, or answer. I don't want you to ask questions to me. This is my show. Stop asking.
No, we totally can. Let's do that.
All right.
What's your favorite bear?
Kodiak. I win.
Correct.
Another point for Kodiak. All right. If you could, all right. You're on the V9 committee. You
We are?
Well, spoilers, Cord. That's
Okay.
why you're here. So if you could right now change any one rule of V8, and it just is changed, and you can have it your way, right away, right now, what would it be and why?
Okay, disclaimer before anyone answers. We are speaking from positions of privileged knowledge, and our answers to this question may or may not, and probably shouldn't, influence what actual decisions are made for V9. We are speaking out of pure childish wish lists. There you go.
KOK doesn't represent the voices of the V9 committee. The V9 committee in no way is responsible for any of the decisions made at this moment. Go ahead.
Who are we starting with? You pick. Go around the circle.
You know what? Let's talk with a friend of Bears. Watt, can you please fill us in here?
Okay, so the context for this is if, I was just patching V8, because that's what we have to work
Yeah,
with.
one switch to V8.
Yep.
So I would give scouts a Dispel spell ball. It could be whatever color, probably pink, since that's available. Essentially, scouts are probably the least loved class in the current rule set. I've played scout, but it's
Didn't wanna.
it's like I want to play druid, but I have all this armor.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Okay, anyway, so basically the idea is that if you give druid, or if you give scout a dispel spell ball, you give it something that it already has, an ability to dispel enchantments, but you give it something that you only give it one dispel spell ball, and for it to use that again, it either has to die or it has to retrieve it and charge it again. So you keep a scout in its skirmishing, not quite tanky role, even with this ability, but you give it more sustain than just the current dispel verbal that it gives it. So it's a boon to the class without a major departure from its playstyle, because it doesn't have anything that would protect it for it to like teleport or retrieve this without it either dying or fighting its way to it, getting it and using it again.
Fantastic.
L-ball, man, you're killing my immersion here.
Oh.
Killing your immersion and your druids.
Yep.
So.
Awesome.
Heron.
Yeah, so I've been putting on my pretend thoughtful face like I'm trying to think of something, but actually I have one. I play a lot of Warrior, and I like doing weird stuff sometimes, and there's this one weird interaction that I went to the clarification page, and I didn't get the answer I wanted, so I'd like to change that. But basically, so if you use Shake It Off at like 55 seconds into an ice ball, then obviously you'll be unfrozen before that comes out. But then, if you're frozen again by a different ice ball, at the end of your 10 seconds, you'll be like, okay, well, I'll remove the frozen state because I have that. That's what I had when I activated Shake It Off. That'll be fine, right? I'll be unfrozen. No, they clarified that it's a different frozen, and that doesn't make a lick of sense to me, and I wish it was different.
That's why Manima's not here. He's running from that one question.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. I can back that. I mean, that's fine. Let's do that. Let's. Why not, Gorvan? You could have one rule.
So I'm torn here because I think I don't think it counts as one rule per se, but I would want more material for people starting new parks to exist in the document of the rulebook. I worked on the contract scheme for AI for a little while, and I think one of the biggest points of friction for starting a new park was people were like, well, I know how to play the game, but I don't know how to run a park. And then I'll just show up, I guess, and hope someone asks me why I'm in funny clothing. And I think that if there was some bit more concrete guidance there, I think that would help. In terms of the actual rule side, I would give every class on their page a single line of gains X quest ability or any other of your choice. And there's just a suggested quest ability for each class, like tracking for scouts or whatever. Not tracking, the trekking quest ability, or any other. So it doesn't lock you into that one. It doesn't make you have to play that flavor of the class, but it gets people thinking about quest abilities and quest and role playing. And I have to sneeze.
And he sneezed. Well, it's a good transition at this point. So I have two people left here. I feel like I'm gonna say Cord's name next because he's got his head down. And I used to teach, so you're not paying attention to me, Cord.
Oh no, it's definitely not a not paying attention issue. Wow. So having been on the V8 committee, this question is really challenging because every failing that I've seen in V8 since that time it's almost like a personal affront, right? And so figuring out which one is the most egregious it's really challenging. But I decided the way I'm going to go with this is to piss you off as much as I can. So I would get rid of Avatar of Nature.
Oh, okay. Well, hold on. Hold on.
Kick him from the chat.
Yeah, right.
You're done. Get out.
Good to me.
Moving Ranger over to Scout, fine. But Avatar of Nature away from Druid, we might have to square up here.
All right. So let me explain my reasoning on this.
Okay.
So as the fact that 3 of the people on this discussion have said Druid is by far their favorite class, and I gotta say, a large part of the reason to that, while some of it in the case of someone who has a bear fetish may actually be because they like the concept of Druid, there's also a lot of the fact that Druid is really one of the most powerful classes in the game, hands down. And I think Avatar of Nature really helps with that, makes that one of the most powerful classes. It gets away from one of the fundamental concepts that we actually had with V8, which was it should be a team-based game. okay, teamwork should be the overpowered aspect. The single individual shouldn't.
Mhm.
I think Avatar of Nature, unfortunately, especially when combined with a lot of the other ability to stack things with, or stack enchantments with Druid, makes it extremely overpowered, especially if people also have the added benefit of being, high-end fighters and stuff like that. It makes it an almost impossible combination to counter, even if you do have like adequate dispels on the field and stuff like that. It still can be really difficult to be able to get past that. And so I think it's almost a game-breaking combination that we didn't necessarily put enough thought into during the V8 process. So that's the primary reason that I would get rid of it, is I really feel like saying, teamwork should be the fundamental aspect of this. We totally failed on that note by including Avatar of Nature, because it let the Druid just basically say, I'm a one-man team.
It's the best way to play Amtgard. What are we got? What? I'm sorry, I'm breaking the question here. What, are we okay with this at this point? Like, that's hurtful.
So I don't
I can
use
switch and give you a list of like 30 other things if you
No, I
really
know.
want, but we don't have
Hands
time.
and shields handles.
I want one Joe to be able to actually speak to this question.
That's fair. That's fair. You're right.
So I didn't want to say it because I'm outnumbered, but the Scout Dispel Spellball was also a passive nerf to Druids.
That's fair. Yeah, it's a counter option. Yeah.
The I don't know. Avatar of Nature probably has. I don't know. If you didn't combine it with Essence Graft, it might be okay. Or if we shuffled around what
one or the other. Yeah.
Level, it needs something. Everything together is too much.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who's like go-to lazy, I don't want to write a list is just AON, Lyco, Essence Graph, Gift of Flame, and or Stone Skin Regen. Like, it just, it feels bad. I feel
See,
Okay.
I'm
all
normally a crossbow ranger with spell balls, verbals, support spells, and like just 2 or 3 enchantments that I hand out. So I would be unaffected most of the time.
Yeah. So I just want to reiterate, however, my opinion does not necessarily mean that we will get rid of this in V9. This is going to be a player-driven process. And so based on the survey feedback that we get, we will respond according to that. We're going to try really, really hard to avoid our own personal biases in terms of actually delivering this new rule set.
Our ideas are usually bad anyway.
And I'm hoping the rest of Amtgard really says AON is overpowered. Come on, help me out here.
Well, you have a platform. You have a platform for it now, apparently. Anyways, I'm sorry, I had to sidetrack that a little bit. He attacked me personally.
No, this is perfect. This is perfect. So, because the rule of this is I can only change one thing. I'm just gonna pull all the heat from Cord and say I would literally delete Druid completely.
Wow.
Here's the reason. Druid
Druid has so many rules associated with it. I think that's cheating.
I originally
Yeah, Watt. Thank you, Watt. Thank you.
I originally was like exactly in the same boat as Cord. My first thing went Avatar of Nature, get that out of here. But then it also trickled to Ancestral Magic Armor is another massive part of the game that is invalidating a lot of worn armor in the community that isn't on the class called Warrior. Also, per life Icy Blast and the frozen mechanic in general, especially combined with the ability to release kill people, is also a very negative, non-fun way for people to play against a druid. That it's really, hey, you sit there and do nothing, and the per life nature of it, plus ice balls, not super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then you have the fact that if you're playing a game and one team has the druid and the other team doesn't, you can't balance it unless you have to go to the other team and say, hey, you need to stack dispels and be on constant dispel duty, otherwise you get overwhelmed by the summoner. Druid has so many cascading effects that need to be addressed in the game that if I can only do one thing to patch V9, blow up Druid, and I guarantee you the meta is a lot more balanced. Now, do I want to blow up Druid in V9? No, obviously not. but that's because we can change more than one rule.
So
Bingo.
I brought you on here to let you guys have an opportunity to share your wealth of knowledge and talk about the V9 team. And you just went to my orc and you saw that I had druid, and you're like, no, we're gonna tear down the bear, and this is how it's gonna be done.
To be fair, I had no idea until you mentioned it in this call.
That's
Just
there
saying.
it is. That's fair. Who knows
You outed
anything-
yourself.
Who knows anything about Kodiak? It's strange. We'll get to that because now we're in the final category. This is the most serious questions we have on KOK. These are the funny questions. I'm going to leave this open. Someone give me an answer here. Stillhat would like to know, are birds real? Are they spies? Or are they just bats?
Aaron, all you.
Aaron?
I had a feeling this would be the question. So are birds real? Yes.
Mhm.
No comment on the rest.
Nope.
Oh, they're not bats though. I'm pretty sure of that.
All right, fantastic. Morgan would like to know, how long are the dreams of a butterfly?
7.
I was
7.
Seven.
actually trying to do math on that earlier, and it really depends on the species because a lot of them live for different lengths of time. And I'm like, I don't know how much butterfly sleeps, but it can't be like all the time, but probably only like a few weeks at most.
Okay. All right.
She's
Stillhat
taking
would-
this seriously.
Yeah.
Nice.
Morgan, you got to get up your game, man. People are fact checking you now. Stillhat would like to know, favorite conspiracy theory in Amtgard?
I got 2. I don't know if it counts as a conspiracy theory, but I love that one little blurb about the Royal Amtgard Navy in the lore section. I think it's hilarious. The other one is just the existence of a shadow government in Amtgard, because have you ever met Amtgarders? They're not that coordinated.
I will say, of the messages we get in our surveys, there is a greater than 0 amount that believe we are part of some secret clique that has been writing the rules forever. And it's like, I don't know about that. Maybe Cord? I think maybe...
I have
to be
no idea
safe,
what you're
we could,
talking
like,
about.
burn Cord at the stake, and then we're good.
It's probably
Lobotomize
Cord.
him,
It's
and then
probably
we start
Cord.
from a fresh Cord.
It's entirely Cord. I can almost guarantee it.
Oh, the Shadow Council is Cord.
The one person cult.
No. Okay, sorry. I meant like the rumors and the theories with regard to the V9 team. Okay, the rest of these guys are innocent little, newbies.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Now he's attacking. Now he's moved away from attacking druids and just attacking the rest of the team. Get him, guys. Get him.
No. Being a newbie is actually that's a compliment at this point.
Oh,
Yeah.
fair.
From someone my age, yes.
Oh, you're like maybe 3 years older than me. Knock it off. Knock it off. If you could meet anyone in history, who would it be, and why would it be Freddie Mercury?
Have you ever seen him?
Yeah.
That man is fucking amazing.
That-
Like it speaks for itself.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
Do you like Chinese food? And is your what is your favorite order, and why is it strawberry chicken?
I've never heard of strawberry chicken, I'll be honest.
I've never seen that as an option.
I've
Okay.
never
I
heard-
get
I've heard of
it,
Orange
but-
chicken. Is
Yeah.
it like orange chicken but replace it with strawberries?
It would have
Seen orange, I've seen lemon, never seen a berry.
Okay.
I
So
will say I do like the strawberry feta cheese salads. Those are really good with the raspberry vinaigrette.
Panera's
You've
got
gotten
a
those at a
great.
Chinese restaurant?
No, maybe
Oh,
they have a
okay.
buffet. I'll make it myself.
All right.
Smuggle in a bag of strawberries.
Panera has an amazing strawberry poppy seed salad in the summers. It's great.
Is there anything with kale? I want to serve it to a paladin in DS.
There you go.
I remember going to restaurants.
All right.
All right. Moving on. Is a taco a sandwich?
No.
A
Yes.
taco is a calzone.
Box rule or
A
cube rule.
burrito's a calzone, but I don't know if a taco is.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Okay, the word sandwich is a heuristic device that people can apply to a particular phenomenon.
All right.
All right, we're done.
Okay.
Sorry, the whiskey's hitting.
We're gonna try some more of these. Is a Pop Tart a hot pocket?
A
Yes.
Pop-Tart is a
Pop-Tart-
ravioli.
Both
Pop-Tart
of them
is a
are
taco.
ravioli. I would say that a ravioli is the classification for both of those.
All right, fantastic. Here
Aaron
we
gets
go.
a red belt.
Is a cereal a soup?
Yes.
All right. Does that make
Cereal's a
oatmeal?
taco.
Does that make oatmeal a stew?
I mean, yeah, it's honestly not even one of the weirder things I'd consider a stew.
I'd say it depends on how
So
thick
let me
your
ask you a
oatmeal
question
is.
first. Is gazpacho a stew?
I don't know what that is.
It's a cold
Is
soup.
gazpacho an oatmeal?
Yeah. So no.
I guess
Because oatmeal has oat as a requirement, I think.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And meal. It's at least 50-50 on the meal.
Question:
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you only have a cup of oatmeal, is it just like an oat snack?
No,
Now I'm
well,
curious
because
about the
it's a
concept of
full
a
meal,
gazpacho.
Yeah.
right? If that is your entire sustenance package for the day,
So only with the depression meal. Got it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of oatmeal, what is the square root of a bowl of oatmeal?
Well, you gotta multiply two things together to make it, and they have to be the same thing. So probably
What
the square
oats
root of how
times
much oat you
meal
need and
is
how much
Oatmeal
water
is a
you need.
prime number.
Well, I mean, a bowl is going to be 1/2 pi r squared, right? So if we pull
right.
pi out, it's just 1/2 r squared, right?
so oatmeal's a
Iron.
pie.
Who
Yeah.
puts pie in their oatmeal?
Wait,
I don't know. Prime numbers can have square roots.
brought
They're
the
just not
pie?
whole numbers.
So stew is a pie.
Yes. Stew is a pie. Got it. We're working on it, guys. If you place an order at a pickup and no one tells you how long the food will take, what is the appropriate amount of time to wait before you walk in?
Wouldn't you
37
be in there
minutes.
Normally? I normally walk in and just chill on the chairs. Is this like COVID times? I
I-
guess it's COVID times.
37 minutes from record?
Yes, in a row.
Okay. Another bird
As opposed to
question.
spread out randomly over the
Yep.
day.
you wait 20 minutes, go in, check on it. Nah, okay, come back in 17 minutes. Exactly
All right.
17.
Two bird questions in a row. Here we go. How many chickens would it take to take down an elephant?
How
One.
big are the chickens? How big are the elephants?
Yep, there you go.
I think if the chicken gets like in the right spot, it could definitely kill an elephant immediately. Like if it got like stuck in its esophagus, you only need one.
There you go.
Or shot out of a railgun.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. If a chicken and a half, a day and a half to lay an egg and a half, how long would it take a grasshopper with a wooden leg to kick a seed out of a dill pickle?
Approximately as long as it would take a woodchuck to chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Well, I think the problem is that a lot of dill pickles either are grown with really small seeds or they're going to be really squishy in the vinegar. So I think kicking it out of the pickle is going to be really hard for anyone.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like,
are we
we're just
talking like
gonna-
an English
gonna smush it.
cucumber? Or are we talking like a Persian cucumber? I mean,
Is
these.
the pickle
I mean-
submerged still?
This is
Yeah,
45
these people
episodes.
really need to be more like specific with these questions.
It's
Does
45
the,
the
does
cucumber
the
seed?
grasshopper have any prior like soccer experience?
The grasshopper?
I mean, African or European?
Oh my goodness. Moving
Really?
on.
We'll just ask this in our next survey. Don't worry, we'll get this sorted.
Yes,
It'll
we'll
be
get
in
this
V9.
information. It's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Replace Druid with this wooden grasshopper.
Boo. 3 questions are all about Kodiak. Does Kodiak have friends, or does he just adopt introverts and say that he has a clique?
I
You have to
doubt
look
it.
inside yourself and know your own truth.
Kodiak has an immense amount of friends. Everybody who's watching this right now is a friend to Kodiak. Everybody who's not watching this right now could be a friend to Kodiak.
I, for one, welcome our new Kodiak
Yeah.
overlords.
Exactly.
Kodiak actually has a feedback loop of friends that is just constantly exponentially multiplying.
Yeah.
And eventually the world will be nothing but Kodiak.
That's right.
Kodiak's
the cult of
friends.
Kodiak is true. Right.
That's scary.
You got the shadow government. Now you got the cult of Kodiak. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Morgan would like to know if Kodiak had a panic attack due to the aforementioned snack getting hacked, would you help him bounce back?
Probably
mean,
not.
That sounds whack.
I'm not a good friend.
Oh, what? At this point, I'm just trying to make the best fair status here. So
What is the aforementioned snack? I may have.
Is it
missed
the
that
pickle?
one.
Is it
It might be
kale
the
or is it ice
pickle.
cream?
It's the- Yeah, exactly. If it's ice cream, yes. Kale, no.
right.
Pickle,
Burrito?
burrito.
Burrito.
Santa Fe Grill.
Santa Fe Grill.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. Last question from Stillhat: is Kodiak real?
No.
I guess so.
This is all just a trippy hallucination.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably the right answer. All right, V9, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm going to go ahead and do my announcements for the KOK viewers, and then we'll say our goodbyes. Burning Lands and Dragonspine members, please go to the Co-Kingdom RP page. Do your RP. We're still working on that. Dragonspine members, please go ahead and do surveys. Surveys, I'm giving out credits for it. It's very important. Do that. Also, we have Prime Minister elections. We have BOD elections. We have an amendment out. All of those things need to be voted on. Go to your local PMs. Get those things voted for. For anyone who's paying attention, go to my personal page. Go to Sir Smiley's personal page, Cato's personal page. We are doing a fundraiser for St. Vincent's Children's Hospital. We are shaving our facial hair. We've already met the goal for me and Cato to lose our facial hair. We're above $1,000 at this point. Our goal is before February 28th to get to $5,000. Please, if you have the money and can afford to do so, go ahead and donate to that fund. It's all going to the children, but we're going to shave our facial hair for it. I think that's everything I have. Again, V9, thank you so much for coming on today. Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers?
I think Watt is trying to break out of the Matrix right now.
I'm learning how Zoom works.
Absolutely do the surveys, because if you don't, we may kill Druid, or we may not.
Yeah, there you go. That's a threat or a promise or a joke.
I didn't realize we were keeping hostages.
But I want to thank Kodiak so much for agreeing to have us on this show. Thank you so much. And obviously the entire team that is here. Please, if you want to see more of us and you're not from this kingdom, go to your proper kingdoms and get them to invite us, and we can do this for your kingdoms. Because we want to get our faces, not just my face you see too much of it, but these guys, we want them out there so you guys can talk to them. So hopefully you can feel more confident in just us as a team being the ones that are shepherding us into the next generation of Amtgard. So please talk to us, reach out to us. Thank you so much for watching this. And yeah, anyone else got to say something?
Thanks for having us. It's been fun.
For doing surveys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, not a problem.
Bye.
All right. All right. Until next time, I've been Kodiak. This is King of Kodiak. Goodbye.